We're not bored. Welcome to our certified wildlife habitat sanctuary. It really is. You know, most faith communities come in and they clear cut the land, and that's part of why you feel so good here. Is that this really is we have the sign outside. It is the certified wildlife habitat. So, welcome. We have some special guests here today that I'll let Dana introduce your panel. We also have Heather Shackley, who is part of the Soil and Water Conservation, and we have Alice Wang. Alice, if you would stand for us. Alice is the Mason District representative for the Planning Commission. Dana is the Mason District representative, and the church is in Mason District politically. I'm Nancy Hall. We're part of the Social Justice Commission. So Lolly, if you would stand up, and Allie are the fearsome threesome that we brought this together. And I would love to, they have a presentation for you, but I would like to, in the course of the time, if each of you could just give a couple minutes of what interested you in becoming part of the Soil and Water Conservation. I know, it's so funny because you have to vote on them on your ballot, and everybody's like, what is all, yeah, so you will now get the opportunity to understand what soil and water conservation is on and why it's important and why it's on your ballot and why these are elected officials. And then we'll have, so what we informally titled this was, and you'll see on their presentation, past, present, and future, what they have done, what they're doing, and what the future plans are. And then hopefully be able to open it up for Q&A. But I appreciate y'all, and they will take the mics from there. Go.
I'm not sure if it's working or not. I'm Dana Barakat. I'm a director and I'm elected, but I'm going to actually pass it to our chairman, Scott Cameron, and he's going to introduce Soil and Water.
Okay, thanks. With me is one of my colleagues, and who actually has a lot more expertise than I do. So any of the tough questions go to her.
Thanks, Scott. Hi, I'm Adria Bordas. I am on the Soil and Water Board, also an appointed member of the board by virtue of my position as your county extension agent. So I work in a partnership with the Soil and Water Board as the county extension agent, and I'm also a member of the board because our board is 5 members. 2 are appointed, which one is our chair, Scott, and the other is myself, the extension agent. And then the other 3 members of our board are elected, and Dana is one of the elected. And what interested me in being on the Soil and Water Board, because that was one of your questions, well, because it is part of my position, was appointed in 2001. I've been on the board since 2002 in January, so I have experience with the board. I also, before Dana became a member of the board, held the position as the youngest member of the board for the longest period of time. And I held that with really, really good, stride. And then Dana joined our board, so I was like, yes, I am not the youngest anymore. And, but I also serve as the Technical Review Committee chairperson, and so the Technical Review Committee reviews a lot of our projects that we're going to talk about here today, and that we help with conservation efforts around the county, and that goes for not only agricultural, but also homeowners and mitigating any kind of water erosion and soil issues. So I'll hand it back to Scott. I hope that was okay.
Sure. It was amazing. Thanks.
You want to talk about how you got into this?
I think all of you voted for me. I got into it because
It's your fault.
I care about the environment, but truly what I love about this are the people, if you can't tell. The Soil and Water family with Heather as well, truly the best people in the world. So I really think that's so important.
Okay, so this is going to date me, but when I was in high school, Congress was deliberating whether or not to pass a Clean Water Act, an Endangered Species Act, Superfund legislation and 8 or 9 other environmental bills. So I was one of those high school kids who was writing letters to dozens of senators and members of Congress. I'm sure 95% were trashed on the receiving end, encouraging them to pass these bills into law. And then in college, I started off as pre-med, but thank God I came to my senses and decided I didn't really want to be a doctor before I took organic chemistry instead of after I took organic chemistry. But I stayed interested in conservation and the environment really my whole career. My first job was working for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in the Wetlands Protection Program in the service. So fast forward several decades, a fellow named John Peterson, who was one of my mentors, I met in a social situation. And he said, there's this thing called the Northern Virginia Soil and Water Conservation District. Why don't you come to some of our meetings and see what it's like? So fast forward about 10 years, and with the indulgence of these folks and our other colleagues, I'm chairman of our district. I'm also president of the State Association of Soil and Water Conservation Districts, and I'm one of Virginia's 2 delegates to the National Association of Conservation Districts. So it all seemed like a good idea at the time, and here I am. So with that, maybe just jump into the presentation. Okay. Assuming this mic works, oops, maybe should I use this instead? Use this instead. Okay. Okay, so we've got a number of slides here, but feel free to to interrupt with questions along the way. So who are we? We were founded in 1945. We're a locally led conservation agency. There are 47 districts. I'm about to get some coaching. Put that down. Okay. I always appreciate guidance. Heather can testify to that. Our district is solely focused on Fairfax County. We're a non-regulatory agency. There are 47 other districts across the Commonwealth, and a number of those serve multiple counties. Just our county is so large by population that we just serve Fairfax County. Our funding comes from multiple sources. We get about half of our money from the General Assembly through the Department of Conservation and Recreation. The other half, interestingly, we get through Fairfax County, which is unusual. Only a fraction of the other 46 districts across the Commonwealth get county funding at all. So we're blessed. Our vision is up there. We focus on natural resources more generally. While our name is soil and water, we worry about invasive species. We worry about stormwater management. We worry about fish and wildlife resources. So virtually anything in the natural resources realm, which is actually one of our challenges, because managing mission creep is a real risk when you're generalists. Our mission, you can read it for yourself. The major piece of that is our education mission, educating the public. And sometimes that means high school kids, sometimes that means homeowners, and everybody in between. We have a lot of technical expertise on our staff. We've got an engineer, we've got professional soil scientists. Adria's got an enormous amount of expertise. So we've got a lot of technical, scientific, and engineering expertise. We work across the board, basically, with anybody who's got a question, an issue, a concern involving natural resources. We may not be able to solve or address your issue directly, but we can point you in the right direction, either at the county level or at the state level. Okay, organization chart. We're not going to walk you through this. The point is we've got a professional staff of around, I think it's 14 now, of 14 people. About half, more or less, funded by the state, and the other half funded by the county government. Okay, so there's a picture of some of us. There's a picture with more of us later on. There's Heather, okay. All right, is there a pointer on this? Okay, see if I can point at Heather. It's not working. Anyway, Heather's in the back. Okay, the A team. We do have a really solid, group of professionals in the organization. Okay, we have a variety of programs. I know this is hard to read from where you are. Education is one component of it. Professional support. So the county actually uses our soils expertise and uses our engineering expertise when they're trying to think about things like how do we plan a road that's going to not have significant water quality impacts. How do we restore a stream that maybe has been channelized since the 1950s because it seemed like a good idea in the 1950s to more of a meandering more of a meandering pattern, which is considered best practices these days. Urban agriculture is something we've gotten interested in recently with the county's support. There are a lot of people, even in a place like Fairfax County, who don't have enough food to eat. Also across our society, there's sort of this cultural divide between urban and rural. You ask someone in a city where the food comes from, they'll say Safeway. Okay, well, it comes from a farm, really. Safeway is just intermediary. So urban agriculture is a way to solve real problems for people who have food issues. It's also a way to educate an urban population about food really comes from the ground ultimately, and therefore we need to be interested in the ground. Okay, outreach. We have, we've got a 5-member board. We do things like this today on a fairly regular basis with a wide variety of groups. We're building relationships with Rotary clubs, with Kiwanis Club. Outreach and engaging with partners in a non-threatening, non-regulatory way, because that's our mission, is a significant piece of what we're all about. We run volunteer programs. If any of you are interested in learning about stream monitoring to figure out what sort of chemicals or what sort of critters are in your streams, come talk to us. We can teach you. You can participate in stream monitoring programs. This, to a large extent, is focused on in kids in grammar school or high school. But adults are welcome. Adults are involved. And the more people understand what's happening in the environment, I think the better off we all are. Chesapeake Bay preservation. There's lots of focus, not surprisingly, across the entire Commonwealth, but also in Fairfax County, on restoring the Chesapeake Bay. And we're in the drainage of the Chesapeake Bay. So water that goes in the Potomac eventually ends up in Chesapeake Bay. And water that goes into the tributaries of the Potomac eventually ends up in Chesapeake Bay. So, and Dana is our representative on the local Chesapeake Bay Preservation Commission. Is that what it's called? I got it right, good. Okay, let's see, hopefully I didn't kill this. All right, we have a variety of programs, including grant programs, and some of these we'll focus on. One of our more popular programs is called the Conservation Assistance Program, funded by the county, and it mirrors the Virginia Conservation Assistance Program that's funded by the state. This helps individual landowners, homeowners deal with water problems on their property. It's proven really popular, which is one reason that the county's been giving us money to help people deal with that. We've got some other programs like we've got a flood management assistance program that focuses specifically on water issues around houses. We have a county-funded program to eliminate an invasive plant called Trappa that infests a lot of the ponds in Fairfax County. Turns out Fairfax County is the hotspot across the entire Commonwealth for this invasive plant. And the seeds get carried on duck and goose feathers. ducks and geese fly around all over the place. So Fairfax County ducks and geese are potentially going to infect ponds and lakes across the entire Commonwealth. So that's one reason we're focused on eradicating this plant called trappa. Okay, technical assistance. I already mentioned this in part. Lots of people call us for lots of reasons. Sometimes we can help you directly. Sometimes we can just point you in the right direction. In terms of some things in particular, for those of you who are parents and who have kids that are interested in the environment, the State Association of Conservation Districts runs roughly a week-long program every year at Virginia Tech called Youth Conservation Camp. And this year, Fairfax County, our district, is sending 19 kids out of a total of like 70 or 80 to Tech for Youth Conservation Camp. And it's not just, play in the dirt. The kids learn fishery management, they learn soil science, they spend some time in laboratories. So it's, for any kid who's interested in the environment and interested in science, it's a really good experience. Plus, yeah, they do go in a river, and yes, they do swim, and they do fun stuff too. But it's something I wanted to flag for you. I already mentioned our urban ag program, so I won't get into that again. So that is the full team, at least I think that's a full team. I haven't done the math. Where am I? That's a good question. Oh yeah, all right, there I am. Yeah, I'm the guy on the left, the one who's Caucasian. that's me. So that's us. I'm also, among other things, I'm chairman of our legislative committee in our district, and we work very closely with several members in the General Assembly to try to get legislation passed that touches on the environment and funding on the environment. So I guess at this point, happy to take questions. All the tough ones go to Adria. Sir. Oh, okay.
Yeah, could you touch base with how your group affects Lake Akatik and its plans for the future?
So we're in touch with the community around Lake Akatik, but I don't know the specifics. Maybe Adria or Dana know more about how we're involved with Lake Akatik.
As far as what the restoration or what it might become as far as that goes, because that is more of a park authority thing than Soil and Water District. So one thing that I also have learned about Soil and Water District is I stay in my lane, and that is Park Authority's lane for me to stay out of.
I would make the observation, though, that to the extent our programs can help landowners reduce erosion problems on their land,
Sure.
The erosion on someone's property ends up in the stream.
It does.
And that can create sedimentation in places like Lake Akatik.
So things that we could help with to avoid extra sedimentation of Lake Akatank is helping with those conservation assistance programs in individual yards and property. And even we've had some conservation assistance programs at places of worship as well that have been recipients of those grants. So, and that all contributes to Lake Akatank. So.
I believe the park authority is so I believe it's the park authority that you have to go to for that, or we get in trouble.
Thank you.
Yep, you got it.
Hi, I'm Mary Summers. We live over in Truro, just as a point of reference, and we have a little stream running through our community as well. Given that there are 14 fantastic staff, and also given that it's not a regulatory group and it's how it's funded, are you finding that your demand is increasing, or is the group feeling a little more at risk because you're not regulatory and therefore could be seen more discretionary?
So it's interesting. My experience has been that the county finds it useful to have an outfit that can deal in a non-threatening way with homeowners, as opposed to having code compliance, being sicked on a homeowner. And I think when you approach people in a non-threatening way, they're more likely to be engaged with you and maybe more willing to listen to your suggestions. And if you can give them a little bit of cash to encourage them to do what you think they ought to be doing anyway, then it helps. So we think it's actually an advantage. If you think of it from a financial management perspective, you want to have a diverse portfolio, right? I would not want to be totally reliant on state funding. I would not want to be totally reliant on county funding. In fact, we do apply for external grants periodically. So it's been, I think it's a good arrangement, having a diverse source of funding.
Okay, I have two questions. One is a personal one. This trappa, is it the slime stuff that suddenly appears in your little backyard pond?
No, it's called flowering water chestnut, Trappa bispinosa. It's not an algae. It's actually a green plant, but it does float on the surface of ponds typically. So it's in environments where there's not fast-moving water. So ponds and lakes. And because it's floating on the surface, it prevents light from getting down to the bottom, so it competes with submerged aquatic vegetation. And then in the winter, it dies, not surprisingly, although it's, I'm pretty sure it's a perennial. But anyway, so when it dies, it sinks to the bottom, creates biological oxygen demand, blah, 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 blah. Adria, want to clean up after me?
So what's the slime you're describing of? Is it floating?
Most of the time it's floating, yeah. It's attached itself to the plants that are already there. And actually the honeybees don't seem to mind it at all. On hot days they can get water easily because it's light enough that they can sit on it, just barely.
So is it a foam-like slime?
Sometimes.
And do you have fish in your pond?
Well, until about 2 weeks ago when the raccoons took the last 2 goldfish out.
Okay.
The last 2 large goldfish. Now I have only guppies left.
I got you. Okay, well, you know what? I would recommend that if you can send some, I know this sounds weird, take some pictures of the slime.
Okay.
And also, and send them to the Soil and Water District. And then, because not all of us have that exact specialty, sometimes we send it around to everyone, and we kind of, by confirmation of all of us collectively working together, and we'll have a discussion about what it is. There have been many things that'll pop up, especially when we have peaks of temperature that'll spike, especially coming up this heat dome that's coming up at the end of the week.
That's when it
and I
blooms.
always get concerned for that, because then you get other things that you don't normally see. And so if it's a slime versus like something that's actually palpable, because I know we have some freshwater jellyfish that'll float around in
This is only
in
4 feet
ponds.
by 8 feet, no.
Okay, all right, yeah. All right, well, let's take a picture and try to have some kind of size determination, maybe like a ruler or something nearby in your photo, and send it along to our district email.
Okay, and the other question is about this property here. I guess it's been 2 years since they dumped all that dirt off of the side of our driveway. Somebody dumped about 2 pickup truck loads of the worst subsoil you have ever seen. We've been planting wildflower seeds on it, and we saved the straw from the crush and put it all out there to try and add some humus to the soil. And I keep, whenever I plant something, I make sure I bring some dirt with it. But it's stubborn about getting anything to grow on it at all. You have any suggestions other than to continue with what we're trying to do?
I would start with a soil test, just a simple soil test to see what's going on with your soil and what are you actually trying to grow in that soil. Wildflowers, okay, so you want your pH to be like at a 6.5. It could be that that pH is not right for growing anything, so you want to do a soil test, figure out what the pH is, and then you can make some additions. It might need lime, it might need some sulfur, depending upon what you need your pH at.
Hi.
So let me just finish up because I just wanted to add to that. You can find a Virginia Tech soil test kit at any Fairfax County public library. They're also at the Soil and Water office. They're at the Government Center. They're at Ace Hardware, Merrifield Garden Center, Burke Nursery, Campbell and Ferrara, and I think it's called the Garden Plot. It used to be called Hollywoods and Vine on Route 1, but we have spread our soil test kits across the county so you don't have to come to the Government Center for it. So you can go to any Fairfax County library, ask the librarian for a soil test kit, take a composite sample, put it into the box, and mail it to Virginia Tech. It's $10, best $10 that you will spend on that garden, and then you'll get recommendations on what to add. If you have any questions after you get the results back or emailed, they're going to be emailed to you. And people who have a Gmail account, it'll automatically go to your trash or your junk or whatever it is. So look in there. I know this. And then if you still can't find it, just get in touch with us and I can look into the database and find the results for you. All right? All right. There you go.
That's really interesting information. Wow. Yeah. Hi, my name's Robin Petruzak. I'm the facilitator of the Resources Ministry here at the church. We are going to be replacing our parking lot and driveway in probably 2027 at this point. So I think this is an excellent opportunity to consider ways to handle the runoff from the driveway, and perhaps a creative way, and also to deal with significant erosion that we're getting along our driveway, as you can notice it when you drive up. So my question is, what advice you would have for us, maybe for a process, and if it ends up pointing us towards specific vendors that may be specifically working with retention ponds or creative ways to deal with parking lot runoff. Are those recommendations that you can provide? But my thought is maybe we could get an independent evaluation from SWCD as to what might work here before we consider calling in a company to give us advice.
So what you're describing is like almost perfectly aligns with the state's VCAP program. And you know, off the top of my head, there are seven different practices. Permeable pavers might be something to consider for the parking lot itself. Conservation landscaping around the edge of a driveway is another way of controlling erosion. So, you know, when you're early in the planning process, I'd encourage you to reach out to our staff and tell them, hey, you think you've got a potential VCAP VCAP project here, and could someone come out, take a look, and make some recommendations? Dana or Adria want to? VCAP, Virginia
Conservation Assistance Program is
There you go.
VCAP. Sorry
VCAP.
for the acronyms.
Yep, sorry.
I will send Heather the information and maybe she can send it to you.
Yeah, I think that's a really good start, Scott. And you're talking about if you do permeable pavers, your plowing is going to be different. Your snow removal is going to be different, and you're going to need to remove your debris a little differently because you don't want that debris to sink into the permeable pavement because it's going to clog it then. So there are some considerations, but you also, there are good and bad with the permeable pavement, but also having some kind of landscaping along that and having also some erosion protection with either in areas where you have a lot of slope, you could put jute cloth and do planting with native plants. There's a lot of things that can happen with our technical staff to come out and help out, for sure.
I will say, to follow up, we actually did have an evaluation several years ago by someone from the Southwest Conservation District, specifically about permeable pavers. The assessment at the time was that it probably would not work for us because of the soils that we have underlying our present parking lot, though, and also the expense and the load that this parking lot would require. The number of vehicles and the weight of the vehicles that come. But I think, it certainly would be worth talking again about that before we make a final decision. So thank you.
And there are options beyond permeable paving to accomplish the same goal. So, our staff can tell you off the menu of possibilities what might be the best fit for your situation. Oh, there's a lady back there.
Thank you. I'm just curious, as you've come up and you've seen our campus, either specifically here or just sort of this part of Fairfax County, what are the 2 or 3 top issues or things to focus on in this area that your organization has experienced or from your own expertise?
So I can't claim, I'm from the Mount Vernon district. That's where I live. So, quite a distance away. But I would, stormwater management and is an issue across the entire county. And in terms of fertilizers, pesticides, sediment, that improperly managed stormwater can cause. Invasive species is typically an issue. The General Assembly, last several years, has been passing some good laws that will lead eventually to a ban on people at Home Depot or Lowe's or garden centers actually selling invasive plants. One of the problems with invasive plants, they tend to be pretty, so people like to buy them. And the next thing you know, they've gone from 20 square feet to 5,000 square feet, and they're just all over the place. So the General Assembly, courtesy of Delegate Siebold, has passed some legislation that will reduce the likelihood of invasive plants being sold in stores. But I think invasives and stormwater management are probably the big 2. I don't know, Dana or Adria.
I would also say across this district, but the Mason district, but also across the county, is maintaining our urban tree cover. There are a number of trees that have experienced a lot of storm damage, even just driving here. I live over, I'm sorry? Last week, yeah, exactly. Last week, and even this season, this past spring, we've had quite a few really bad storms. That microburst that happened in Burke is just, one example, but we have had several storms like that. And if I go back in my social media feed, I see that, like I posted 3 years ago, that we had, a different microburst in my neighborhood that knocked down trees like dominoes from one to the next, to the next, to the next, like 4 yards of domino trees. So I would say the biggest thing is caring for your trees, having a certified arborist come out, replanting trees, having, and your resources here on your property, that's a resource. That keeps this whole wonderful room that we're sitting in cool and comfortable. And you start thinking about all of these trees having issues, and then the sun is beaming down on this room, it would be really, really warm in here. So maintaining and caring for all of the trees on your property and making sure that the ones around your valuable resources, your buildings are cared for is really important too. And specifically, and then if you go home and you look at your house, I would do the same thing at your house, making sure that you have that kind of maintained and cared for, because it's when we're least expecting that branch to break or something that will. I had a neighbor who went through their roof and now they have a blue tarp on their roof. So those expectations, and it wasn't even their tree, it was the neighbor in the next yard, their tree. So it's just those little things that you don't think about that also keep everything maintained in the status that you want here at your property at the church here.
You know, I would add there's also a connection between invasive species, particularly invasive insects, and tree health. There's a bug came in from China called the emerald ash borer that's killed virtually all the ash trees in the eastern U.S., and it's killed most of the ash trees in the Midwest, and it's heading west. There's another bug called the spotted lanternfly, which sounds like you know about them, which is a problem for other species of trees. So a lot of these things are connected. And trees absorb an enormous amount of water that otherwise ends up in streams, that otherwise ends up in the Potomac, that otherwise ends up in the Chesapeake Bay.
So I have a question about trees, invasive species, the largest landlord, or largest landowner in Fairfax County, and your benefactors, being Fairfax County itself. Mm-hmm. As you walk through county property parks, you see very few young trees. You see old trees falling over, but the deer snap off any young tree. Yeah. So, and that goes back to the invasive species because the deer won't eat the stilt grass that's taking over everything else. So how do we as individuals work with the county to say, hey, you guys got to come in, plant some decent sized trees, put protection around them, because otherwise we're just seeing more deserts or more stilt grass fields. And I'm talking about around Lake Fairfax, and I think it could be anywhere in the county.
It is. So the short answer, I don't mean to be glib, but talk to your supervisor about increasing the budget of the Park Authority.
Andre
Seriously.
Jimenez is our supervisor here.
I guess we're not.
Thank you all for a very, very engaging time. I would have one final question. What can we do? What would you have us do? We obviously have a gold mine here. We've had people address us. Why don't you build housing? No. What would you have us do to help y'all, and what more should we be doing here?
So some thoughts. To the extent there are high school kids who are parts of this congregation who are interested in science, encourage them to apply to Youth Conservation Camp. It's a competitive process, but it's a really good program. That's one thing. Another thing you could do would be to participate in our stream monitoring program, and a third thing you could do as you get closer to figuring out what you're going to do with this driveway and parking lot, take advantage of our grant programs that are funded either by the county or the state or both, and spread the word. There is more demand for projects through the Virginia Conservation Assistance Program or the County Conservation Assistance Program than there is funding available. So, okay, I'll say it. I encourage your colleagues in the General Assembly and the Board of Supervisors to think seriously about increasing the funding for those programs.
I was going to say that just in case you didn't, because this is the most amazing.
I have something, I don't know.
Yes.
I'm just here as a congregation. I'm just here as a congregation member.
I know, that's an empty seat here.
I don't
Here's
mean to say,
Elijah.
I'm just here as a congregation member. I saw it in the bulletin and I decided the Is this on? This is an amazing group of people with their two colleagues who are not here, and they're all volunteers, and they give of themselves tirelessly, and so just a moment of appreciation. But there's been, yes. But I do want to say that a lot of things have been talked about, and email the staff, and I just wanted to give you the information you needed to do that. Some of you may have my personal email, and you are more than welcome to email me, hshackley@gmail.com. But if you want to go through official channels, our email address is conservationdistrict@fairfaxcounty.gov. Conservation District is all one word at fairfaxcounty.gov. And for all the programs that Scott, Dana, and Adria mentioned, that's the entryway. Whether you're interested in having somebody come out and do a technical assistance call here at the church, if you're interested in finding out about the flood mitigation program for your home property. We even do, we work with the county's Office of Energy and Environmental Coordination on helping houses of worship with energy-friendly appliances, lights, all kinds of things. So there's lots and lots of possibilities. But Conservation District is at fairfaxcounty.gov is a good entryway. And the other thing that Scott touched on one of the slides was our green breakfast. It's held six times a year. 2 are in person at Ornery Brewery in Fairfax City on a Saturday morning. The next one coming up is on July 10th. It's going to be virtual. If you email conservationdistrict@fairfaxcounty.gov, you can get on the Green Breakfast mailing list. The presentation that morning is going to be Jen Cole of Clean Fairfax talking about the truth about plastics. And it promises to be a very interesting, an interesting presentation. And if you get on our mailing list, we also have a watershed calendar that you can get on to find out what we're doing for stream monitoring and some of our other volunteer activities. So if you're looking for ways to get involved, Conservation District at fairfaxcounty.gov is your entryway. Take a look at our website. We work really hard to make sure that it's up to date. Our board meets 10 times a year. Our board meetings are open to the public. The technical review committee that Adria chairs is open to the public. Anything that is of interest to you, it's a fascinating, fascinating organization, and it's amazing what is encompassed with soil and water. All kinds of things, all kinds of things. And I'm not a technical expert. I do human resources, finances, but I am surrounded by very talented technical experts. So that's all. That's my pitch. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Heather.
Heather is also our parliamentarian person, our FOIA expert, and all the things that keep us in line and not breaking the law. So, thank you.
Sounds about right. Alice, Alice is the Mason District representative to the Planning Commission. Did you have anything to add? Alice? Oh, she needs a mic.
Yeah, sure, thank you. So on the topic of stormwater, which John had mentioned, we work hard on that topic in the Planning Commission as well, because a lot of the older developments throughout the county, there's either very little or no stormwater control at all. So when we redevelop and put in new projects, we make sure that there's strong stormwater controls, and so we're in a better situation after redevelopment than prior. So that's one thing I wanted to add. So, thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Pastor Shelley, did you have anything to add?
Well, I just want to say thank you again for being here. I will also say if anybody wants to help clean up our table and chairs so that our next congregation, we have a Samoan congregation who worships here in just an hour or so. So if anybody's willing to help with that. But you'll be receiving more emails from us than you probably want. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're right. Somebody probably should have worn, like yesterday when she was introduced, and she said, "This is Dr. Scott," and says, "Well, I'm Dr. Hall, sitting next to Dr. Judy Gundrum." It's like, this is not your typical congregation. We should probably give you a heads up on that you could tell from the questions. But we're very involved and very caring about what happens with not just here, but with the much larger community. But I thank you guys, and I know the conversation will continue. Thank you. From everybody else. So thank you very much. That was a lot of fun.